primary source? Raise your hand. Who wants to vote on secondary source? Okay, you're outnumbered for today, but when we analyze it further, I think you're going to be fine. So I'm going to erase primary, and we're going to put secondary source today. Okay, so when you do number 3 and you fill in your blanks, for the group in the back, there's papers on the table so you know what I'm doing, just so you know. Okay, so we're summarizing a secondary source document by citing specific textual evidence in that document. Everybody got number 3 down, okay? Now, I'll show you how to cite later on when we do that. That'll be my I do, you do, we do. Okay, now, discuss the textual evidence with my elbow partner. Now, I know you're great at discussing. You like to discuss all the time, but today you're going to discuss certain evidence. Okay, everybody done with number 1 through 4? Yes. That'll work. Okay, I'm going to put the clip on. Would you wind the blinds for me? And thank you. This is the set.
April 14 was Good Friday, and on a carriage ride through Washington, Lincoln was so upbeat about the end of the war that Mary told him she was almost startled by his cheerfulness.
It was a lovely spring day, and Lincoln said to her, "You know, Mary, we have been very miserable, what with the loss of Willie and the war." And they started to talk for the first time together intimately, again as husband and wife, of the wonderful things that they would do together in time of peace.
That night they went to the theater, accompanied by a senator's daughter, Clara Harris, and her fiancé, Major Henry Rathbone. At Ford's Theater, the performance of Our American Cousin had already started when the Lincolns arrived. The action stopped. Hail to the Chief was played. The audience rose and cheered. Meanwhile...
Oh, we stop it at a meanwhile. There could be a mean right there. But we are going to change our screen. I will save it, don't worry. And what I want to do today, what I want to do before we start out with, I told you not to let me forget this, is on our pre-read section, I have for you a little vocabulary review. So, underneath the red card rows, if you would reach down, Alicia, that would be yours also, and grab out the packet, I have the 5 words that are on that we went over, and you are going to match up the definitions with your elbow partner. Make sure I hear you talking and using academic language, and then I will have you do a little share out. So what I want you to do is I want you to match up the definitions, and you can match up the pictures also. And would you do me a favor when you're finished, would you hold up your plastic sheet so I know you're done? There's no prize for first today, but there might be a prize later on for the whole class. Yes. No, I want you to leave them on your table so I can see them. Once I see them, you're finished? Okay, let me check you. Okay? Would you do me a favor? You can check somebody else's as soon as we finish. Yes. Okay, we got 2 finished here. Got it? That's good. That's good. Oh, we got it. Hey, would you 2 go over there and check beside us, please? Help me out. Okay. Would you 2 go over there and check theirs, please? Can somebody move my cooler to cold? Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. All right. You guys finished? Would you check them too also? Okay. Now, some of you might be missing one or two. You guys finished? Or you guys already got checked? Are you missing that one?
I'm just missing the pictures.
It's okay. They're deciding on insensible and apprehension. Look at the key word in there. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. One last check here.
Sensible, sensitive.
Very good. Do you guys finish? Would you guys check theirs real quick?
Break it now.
You can just, Emily, just go up and check theirs real quick. Okay.
Apprehension.
All right. Now we're going to share out. And I got to go over, because I don't have my sheet in front of me, so I'm going to go over to my word board. You know, I've had these up here. But let's go with, I'm thinking of a definition of likely to become true. Who would like to share out? Go.
Probable.
Probable. How about causing death? Go. Fatal. Is there another causing death? Go.
Mortal.
Mortal. Remember yesterday I had a cold and I said, I hope it's not mortal. Okay. All right. Fatal, mortal. Okay. Probable. Am I missing a word? Oh, the big one. Anybody tell me what an assassin is? What is an assassin?
A person who kills people for politics or their life.
Kind of important person, right? Okay, today we're going to read about a possible assassin. Oh, I missed one word, insensible. This is the moment you've all been waiting for, though. Okay, you ready? I got insensible, left, and can somebody lend me their definition of insensible? I know you want to, but I'm going to check just for ease of purpose here. Okay, so I have insensible to proceed. Okay, I am going to shred. I'm going to try to hold it up so you all can see here. Okay, I'm going to open up my paper here. Okay, so you see that there's nothing in there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to take this definition. Betsaida, you're my person in magic, right? And we're going to rip it up to shreds. Now this could be called my reconstruction folder. Remember we're doing reconstruction? Well, it might reconstruct words here. So I'm going to place it in, got to make sure I get all the pieces here. Now if you can show me what insensible looks like. Oh, there it is. Insensible looks like, show me. It's worth 5 extra credit points, I told you. Okay, you're showing me insensible. What does oh wait, let me see. Now you're going to have to tell me what insensible looks like. You're going to have to tell me what insensible is. It wasn't quite ready. Go.
Without senses, like you can't hear, you can't see, you can't smell, you can't talk.
Who do you think is going to be insensible? Okay, you guys are already predicting here. So, all right, let me put it in my folder, tap it a couple of times, and let's see what happens. Let's see if Mr. Marcus can pull this magic trick off. You did see me shred it up, right?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. By golly, let me see. Hey, would you read that again for me? Would you read that for me?
Lacking sense, unable to be perceived by the senses.
How did I do that? What? Guess what? Remember, the winner today gets that actual trick, so I'll give it. All right. Okay, so let me put this right here. All right, we got our words done. Let's go to our pre-read section. So if you would do me the courtesy of tucking your words back in your paperwork, putting them underneath your desk area. And on the back side of your paperwork is the news article, the beginning of it. Okay? I gave you one underneath your desk area, but due to time, we're not going to be able to look at the whole thing and do some deep analyzing. We're going to do some surface analyzing. All right, if everybody picked up their highlighter, what I want you to do is I want you to, well, let me ask you, what are we going to highlight? What do you think we could highlight first? Bold-faced words. What do these bold-faced words look like here? Are they actually bold-faced, or what did they do to make them stand out? Capitalized. Okay. So can you highlight some things that look like they stand out? Some capital, and there is some bold-faced. Okay. There's some titling. You know what you do when you take a look at movie preview. All right. Now, would you, to your elbow partner, tell them, I'm going to say, did I say red to black last time or black to red? Okay, so I want red to black this time. I want the reds to tell the black cards what they think's going to happen in the article just by looking at the things you highlighted there. What do you think's going to happen in the article? Okay, let's see if we can close that off a little bit. Would you tell me what your neighbor said? Oh, you know what? I'm going to ask you. Volunteers for share out, because I told you possible. Would you like to go ahead and volunteer?
Yeah.
Go ahead, since I picked you.
Hope said that she thinks the passage is going to be about Abraham Lincoln dying.
Abraham Lincoln dying, so she's jumping ahead. You know, this is, okay, you guys are really predicting far. All right, before I have you write your prediction down, I just want you to take a look. This is just a little comparison. I want you to take a look. This is actually what the newspaper looked like. And, oh. I know.
Override should have passed.
Okay, this is what the newspaper looked like back in 1865, and this is what today's newspaper looks like, okay? Now, titles, bold-faced words and stuff. What do you notice different about today's newspaper than back in 1865? Pictures. Pictures could be a big difference, right?
It's parted into sections.
Okay, this is like columns, and I try to do my best to put these in columns for you like that, so the same look. What else? Go.
The color.
The color. Color is a big thing. Okay, so we have color and picture, and that's what I want you to notice, just the difference before we start, okay? A lot of times you couldn't get pictures in the paper because cameras, you know, took longer to develop and all that stuff, so it wasn't like today's technology. Even the newspaper is now becoming old technology too because of the internet. All right, so we have prediction. Let me see where I'm at. We are moving into our closed read. Everybody good with closed reading? Okay. Oh, you know what I want you to do to hold you accountable? I want you to write your prediction on the back side, right underneath where the puzzle was. You guys hold on to the puzzle. We're going to do that at the end if there's time. I'll give you extra credit for it. But right underneath here, I want at the very bottom of the second box or the third box, I want you to write your prediction. And then I also want you to tell me why you predicted it that way. Did you look at a title? Did you look at a bold-faced word? Did you just have some prior knowledge? Okay. Need my glasses for close. Okay. Would somebody like to share out? We already shared out our prediction, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so what we need to do now is we're going to, I'm missing a spot in my close read. Oh, yes, we're going to close read first, and then I want you, when we close read, I want you to think of a question. And keep in mind, I'm going to keep it at the surface, so the who, what, when, where, and why, as we discussed before on news articles, works out well. All right, do you remember how to close read?
Yep.
Do I have to do I do, you do, we do, or can you do that by yourself? Okay, all right. Ready? I'm going to start at the official dispatch, right at the bottom, where it says the War Department there. Okay, I want to hear your voices. So, the official dispatch, War Department, Major General Dix, New York, Washington, April 15th, 1:30 a.m. Oh, that word dispatch, by the way. We went over that, but I didn't put it in our vocabulary. Before I start, who can tell me what the word dispatch means? Go. Information in a newspaper, or stuff that was sent. We got it. So keep that in mind. This is the official information sent. Okay, this evening, about
9:30
p.m. at Ford's Theater, the president, while sitting in a private box with Mr. Harris and Major Rathburn, was shot by an
assassin.
when suddenly entered the box and approached behind the president. The assassin then
Leaves
upon the stage, banishing a large dagger knife, and made his escape at the rear of the theater. The
pistol
ball entered the back of the president's head and penetrated nearly through his head. The wound is
mortal,
the president has been
insensible,
ever since it was inflicted and now is dying. At the same hour, an assassin, whether the same or not,
entered
Mr. Seward's apartment, and under pretense of having a prescription, was
shown
the secretary's sick chamber. The assassin immediately rushed to the bed and inflicted 2 or 3 stabs on the
throat,
and 2 in the face. It is hoped that the wounds may not be
mortal,
my
apprehension,
is that they will prove
fatal.
The nurse alarmed Mr. Frederick Seward, who was in the adjoining room, and he hastened, okay, I'll just quickly go over that one, to the door of his father's room when he met the assassin, who inflicted upon him 1 or more of the dangerous wounds. The recovery of Frederick Seward is doubtful. It is,
Probable.
wait, I didn't hear that one.
Not
Probable.
It is, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It is not probable that the president will live through the night. General Grant and his wife were advertised to be at the theater this evening, but started to Burlington at 6 o'clock this evening. At a cabinet meeting, which General Grant was
Present.
the subject of the state of the country and the prospect of a
Speedy.
peace were discussed. The president was very cheerful and hopeful, and spoke very kindly of General Lee and other of the
Confederacy.
and the establishment of government in Virginia. All the members in the cabinet, except for Seward, are now in
Attendance.
upon the president. I have seen Mr. Seward, but he and Frederick were both unconscious. Okay. What I would like you to do at this point is think of a question, but I'm going to steer you a little bit. I'm going to steer you to a question, and I want you to take a look at the questioning on the back side where it says write a question. Right underneath, we read as closed read as a group, and right underneath, we're going to think in basic terms like that for the beginning of analysis: who, what, when, where, why, and maybe how, if we can find it. So, you're going to use your arrow, and this is where I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? If I were doing this, I would take this nicely drawn arrow here, nicely squiggled too, and I would find my paragraph. Okay? I know there are paragraphs because usually they have an indentation in the beginning and they end where the next paragraph indents. I want you to put your arrow on the paragraph where you have to answer your question. I'm going to answer the first question of who. Now, my group that does who, there's going to be more than one who, and I'm going to let you do both of them too. So my first row, I'm going to assign you who. But let's look. Okay, this evening at Ford's Theater, the president, while sitting in the box with Mrs. Lincoln, Major Rathburn, I'm going to put my arrow on that, and I'm going to say, okay, my information that I'm citing is he's the president. Now later on, I might have to find that he's Lincoln, and I can put my arrow on that too. But I can infer that he's Lincoln. Why can I infer that he's Lincoln? And who's he sitting in the box with?
Mrs. Lincoln. The mayor.
Okay, the mayor. So do you think he's Mr. Rathbone's friend? Could be, right? But also Mrs. Lincoln and the president. And we kind of know some prior knowledge of this. Okay, so I'm going to put my arrow there, and I want the group that does the who's. It's going to be this first row right here. And when I say row, I mean all the way down. So it's going to be 4 people picking out as many who's as possible. Okay? First of all, I want you to write your question out. Who, what you want to choose. Who killed him? Who got shot? The who's, write that out. You guys, I want this row right here to do the what's. What happened? Okay? So would you formulate your question on what happened and write that out? Okay? This is the where's. Where did it happen? There might be a couple pieces of information. Who, what, where, and you guys, how about you do the whens? Okay? You guys are the row for the whens. And you guys are the row for the whys, and good luck finding that, because we took a little while to find that, so I kind of left that off. Okay. And if you don't get your question, I'm not going to hold you accountable for writing the question, but I do want to walk around and I want to see that you cited someplace on your paper the answer. So put your arrow on your paragraph that it's on. Okay, I'll tell you what. Why don't we leave off writing the question out, and I want to see your arrow on your paragraph where you found your response. That's the most important to me right now. 1, 2. Don't worry about the question. I'm canceling that. Trust me. Yeah. If you already wrote it out, that's fine. I want to see where you found it. Who, what, when, where. Wait, what were you? When. Yours is when. Okay, but don't worry about writing the question out. I'm changing that right now. I want to see where you found it. Okay? I want to see where you found it. Good. Good. You can, as long as you show me where you found it, and then we'll...
Is there evidence here?
Where did you find it? I don't see your arrow. Oh, you got it. I see. Good, good. Good.
They said the will is mortal. I just believe that he won't
Good. All right. Now we're going to have, it's called, some teachers call it race to the board, and I was worried about racing because I very fast. No, we don't have to race. Okay. Now we're going to do columns. Okay. So when he goes up to the board, he's going to write his who's. He could put all of his who's. We'll go through that afterwards. You're going to put, what are you going to put? The what's. Okay? He's going to write his what's. And so, Alicia, what are you going to write? What information were you identifying? Where? You're going to write the where's under column 1. Do you see how you're going to do that? And then so on. Okay. All right. Everybody good? Okay. Row 1, column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. What won't you have in your column? You won't have the who's, will you? Okay. So you just start with the what's. Okay. Go. and then hand them, go ahead. You're the who's, you're column 2. You're 1. Hey, write big and write legible. That's good. A-S-S-I-N.
So I spelled it right.
A-S-S, no. Okay, we'll go with that. Go. Okay. Taking out, rusting out. Okay, pass it to the next person. Next person, if they're finished, go on up, get the stuff. We're 15 minutes away. We got a couple things to do. We got a summary to write. We got a hat to get. Yes. Oh. Yes, you are number 4. Do the what's. And you are number 3 on the what's. There you go. You can change it. Just give me a second. Whenever it's finished, I'll let you rush up and change it. That's okay. Right now? Okay.
Oh yeah, the class ends at 49 after, so.
That's the handout. We're here. We're just going to summarize. So you're going to take that stuff on the board and summarize.
All right, quick, raise your hand if you still haven't come to the board. All right, quick.
You can't do a learning walk if you don't have an open door. So Scott, thank you for opening your door and allowing us in. We really appreciate it. Next thing is, the routine is that we have a round of what we call affirmations. And what we're attempting to do as specifically as we can is name specific things that we saw Scott doing that in any way facilitated the accomplishment of the learning goals. And specifically, we're always concerned about things like student engagement. We're always concerned with things like student thinking. We're always concerned with things like academic language and students' use of both spoken and written academic language. We're always concerned with things like scaffolding. How are we guiding and supporting students? We're not doing too much, but doing as much as is necessary, as little as possible. And then anything else that you found was helpful or useful. And then we'll have a quick round of what we call questions, wonderings, or suggestions. And everything is fair game as long as you always remember Golden Rule and Aretha Franklin, R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Perfect. So I'll go first, and then we won't have time to hear from everybody, but Scott will get all of your notes, but you can be thinking of what you might choose to share. So much wonderful things going on there, Scott, that I could say, I guess one thing that struck me right from the get-go is I love the fact that you had your kids seated in pairs, so that makes the partnering really quick and easy. And I love the fact that there were multimedia, so you were going back and forth with the short video clip to sort of get them oriented and thinking about this historical fact. Love the fact that you had then the exemplar of newspapers today, newspapers yesterday, prompted their thinking about that so they could compare and contrast what was similar, what was different, pointed those out the way that you'd really given the lesson lots of thought about what kinds of things could I do to help. The big idea here is connection. How can I help kids connect this thing that happened 150 years ago to what's happening in their lives right now? And the whole issue of primary sources and the voting, I thought that was really cool, because that gets rather arcane. Is that technically a primary source or not? I thought the kids' arguments were great. When you didn't say right, wrong, but you got them thinking, explaining why, and there's a rationale for either, and then the voting and comparing that across the class. I just think there's so much that gets their minds rolling and making these historical connections. I thought was really, really powerful. There's lots more I could say, but I don't want to take all the airtime. So how about other specific things that you observed that you found important? Please.
One of the things I thought was really interesting was when you were having them check the definitions. They did the matchup thing, And then I noticed you picked students. Now, I didn't know at the time whether those were TAs or students that had gotten it right. Were they?
They were students that got it right.
I thought that was really interesting because, you know, one of the things that's really hard in a classroom, especially with a lot of kids, is to get to every student. And then to have them be part of the teacher part, I thought that was extremely cool how you did that.
Yeah, and I think anyway, just to put a finer point on that, and I 100% agree, I had that in my notes too, I'm sure many of us did, it is that using students as resources is really powerful. One of the things that I've learned is we have to be very clear with the kids about it's not about getting it done, it's about the thinking. So don't just go around and give them answers. So we have to teach them how to prompt and cue. Like, you may want to check that one again, or I don't think you're quite there on that one, rather than this is, because what my experience is the kids want to jump right in and do it for you, which is neat. They're compassionate, right? But yeah, that's a real important one.
I think it gave the buy-in too, that
Absolutely.
they were part of
the process.
Kind of a teacher too.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Very good. How about something else?
I like the referencing of the word wall, how you went right to your word wall and used it to do that review. I thought that was really great.
Yep. And when we model that, that increases the likelihood that the kids will, on their own, use the word wall, not just as, you know, decoration, but as a resource. Absolutely. Great. How about something else? Please.
I really liked how you split up the rows for who, what, when, and where.
Yes.
And the person next to them was looking for the same thing they were, so if they were struggling, they could still use the partner next to them to help them out. So
Yep.
I really like how you split that up.
And the whole notion of focusing on students using questions to get them deeper, and where they would have to formulate questions rather than it's almost always our questions. In fact, this is in the seminar that I did yesterday, we spent a significant amount of time on this whole issue of how can we teach students how to question, good readers, because one of our long-term goals is we want them questioning themselves while they're reading, talking to themselves. So to really break it out, make it really explicit, and make it kind of fun and interactive while being very explicit, I think is a really powerful thing. Wonderful. How about something else?
Well, I like the magic.
Oh, you did.
No, that's not fair. You're making that's right. That was way cool. I agree. We can't do that every lesson.
I know.
But it fit perfect.
Yeah,
it fit perfect. No, and it worked.
It was funny that it was the word insensible.
Yes. No, that was that was
I'll
awesome.
show you how to do that.
Good.
Well, but that was part of it, that whoever you were going to show one person also at the end of the class, I guess.
Actually, when they're going to be looking for Lincoln's hat if there's time, and then whoever finds it gets the
They're the
magic
ones that
trick.
get so that was
Wonderful.
Well, you know, and I was going to say something similar. I think that raises the level of interest and does get them engaged when you provide humor and you provide something that's, well, look for this later.
Yep.
You're prompting them to be more interested in what you have to say.
Yes.
So I think that was great.
And how you personalize it. You know, you really, and even when you made a minor error, you model it, hey, we make mistakes, no big deal, and then you went right. I think that's wonderful. So that helps create that safety in the classroom of if we wonder together and we're going to challenge and take risks, then making errors is part of exactly what we want to do. So modeling that as an adult, I think, is really powerful. There's many other things we could add, but because of time, we're going to shift gears here and now have a round of what we call questions, wonderings, or suggestions. And I call this a polisher, because in other words, the gem was there, right? We're just, here's a potential way of sort of buffing it up so it shines a little bit more. And that's it. When you have a activity, which I thought was great, like the matching the definition and the word, what tends to happen if we don't add a bit more structure is kids will usually take the path of least resistance, meaning they'll do it the quickest, most silent, simple way. And so if we want miles on the tongue, I would urge you to add a structure like maybe where the kids, first of all, like you did with second partnering, add the red and black for the A and B, right? Second thing is have a little routine. Maybe they rotate every other word, and I read the word, right? And then you look and scan for the meaning, and you read the meaning, and then we put it together. So they're not silently putting it together. We want them using the words and making that verbal connection. And then when we report out, I would urge same thing, is using complete sentences where they repeat the word. So they would say, whatever the word is, insensible means without senses. In means no senses, like Abraham Lincoln or whatever. So just little things where the activity worked really, really well. that's what I mean. The stone's there. Use just little polishers, because I always ask myself, how can we get more language on their tongues and get more verbal production out of the kids, right? Yeah, good. Yeah. So just
you could do a whole lesson on that, actually.
Yes, yeah. And then we're always asking this efficiency question: how much time is it worth? So when I add too many steps, so maybe just the taking turns reading it only, we could do this just about as quickly. But now they're not just placing it silently; they're placing it verbally. Yes.
One of the things I thought might help, because you have kids that always are going to raise their hands, was to have those kids respond, to raise their hands, and then ask your non-hand raisers to paraphrase what they said. That gets them talking, and then
upset accountability.
It puts accountability where they have to listen to what's being taught.
Cool, cool. Any other wonderings or questions or suggestions?
I don't know if you had mentioned earlier about the who, what, when, and where.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to hear you say that again. But I was thinking during the lesson that maybe a little more modeling on what a what question might look like, or what a who question might look like, because I felt like they were just given the who, and I'm not sure if they got the gist of what the question needed to be.
Yeah, and that's good wondering.
So I don't know if it's just maybe modeling a small piece of that with that.
And the real answer here is it depends on what we don't know, and that's really, for you, Scott, is if this is something that the kids have already done before, they know how to do it, and we're at the y'all do it stage, great. If it's fairly new to them, then absolutely, we would always want to model. So, but the big idea, and I appreciate you adding it, Phil, is that anytime we have anything that may be new, modeling it up front is almost always, as Anita Arch likes to say, assume nothing, model everything, right? So for the kids that understand it, they just get reinforced for maybe half the class that they heard it, but they didn't know what you were talking about. It gives them something concrete. So we're never making a judgment on a learning walk based on just a few minutes, right? Because that's out of context. But that's a great wondering. Are we out of time?
We got a couple minutes.
Good, please.
I wonder what would have happened if you had challenged them to come up with a lie if they could think of one.
Yeah.
Just to go that extra little bit and offer a little extra credit, or just give them that sense of, hey, I found a why question, or
yes,
or just as a
that's a wonderful one, because at some point what I found is it's real helpful, we talked about this yesterday, is to have a system for teaching kids the basics between an answer that you can put your finger on, a right there, or multiple right there's, and an answer where you have to take what is there, but you have to add your background knowledge, and you have to think or reason. That's what we call inference, right? Where they didn't really say, but I wonder why. It doesn't really tell us, but why would somebody assassinate the president? That's a really good wondering. It didn't answer it here. But based on the text, we can, and then our background knowledge, that would be an interesting wonder together.
And part of that was I was looking at the time,
yeah.
and I had to cut that group off.
Gotcha.
But I do, yes, you could spend like 4 different lessons on that, just like the who, what, when, where, why.
Yeah.
I mean, when we first did it, we said, oh, we could analyze it this way, we can analyze it this way. That's a real deep subject.
Yep. Yeah. Well, that's why we wonder together. And lots of these things will identify something that in 5 minutes, 8 minutes in the hall, we can't answer. It's a great one to then revisit in our PLCs where we have more time, and we can say, like, okay, if we were teaching this lesson, what would be good literal right there questions? What would be a good inferential question? What might be a good prompt we could get the kids to ask their own questions? Okay, we're done, everybody.